This story is read by Vladislav Ernestov. The story you're about to hear is based on real events. Night shifts, empty lots, quiet industrial edges. Places where darkness lives by its own rules. This isn't a legend or a forum tale. There are logs, reports, witnesses, everything. The hero's name has been changed at his request. And what's left on the camera? As you'd better not see it. So, the story is called The Whatche. RS. The alarm wailed at 6:30 in the evening. Artem Ilyich found the screen with his palm, killed the sound, and lay for a couple of seconds listening to the old fridge. Like someone breathing behind the wall. Ice-cold tap water into his face. The mirror. Dull circles under the eyes, stubble, age just shy of 42. But the gaze isn't empty. A jacket with the patch Sever Park. Into the pocket flashlight, keys, 2 cigarettes, grandfather's folding knife. A memory, not protection. The industrial zone smelled of wet iron and cold soil. The gate stood in the glow of a single street lamp. Pavel Stepanovich lifted his thermos and nodded. Thought you'd get stuck. We'll manage. How's the area? Quiet. Lights are glitching. Electrician in the morning. The booth met him with cheap tea and a TV with no sound. The radio cracked like a plastic bonfire. Rain began to spit by late evening. By midnight it was ticking the roof in an even step. First patrol all clear. In the far corner, a heap of construction scrap, and on its crest a black slit between slabs. Something like an opening, as if someone forgot to close a door at night to a place that shouldn't exist. The log accepted a line. 22:45. No violations. He dozed off at 2:30. Woke to a clang chain on asphalt, dry and angry. The booth window fired the gate's lamp across the yard. 3 men in dark clothes. 1 working a lock with something heavy. 2 on the sides, broad-shouldered, moving like people sure they're feared. Artyom slipped out soundlessly. Between the rows, wet bodies of cars, flecks of light. Rain masks footsteps. Breath breaks into short pulls. 40 meters to the gate. Behind a white van, a view like in a movie. The chain drops. The gate unhinges like rusty jaws. Phone 0 bars. Radio solid ice of static. One of them is already elbow-deep in a pricey sedan. Another holds the perimeter. The youngest jerks his head, hunting for threats. The megaphone hangs in the booth. No time. A whistle in his pocket. He blows. A thin shriek rips the rain. The youngest darts toward the sound. Stop. Private property. Answer, silence and the glint of metal in his hand. And then the air changes. Sudden hollow in the ears, like a tunnel. The guy freezes. His gaze slides right, as if someone else took his chin and turned it. Artyom looks that way. There was a shadow. Not just darkness, an opening blacker than night. From it a tall figure pours out. Human and not. Arms too long, head small and drawn forward. Skin. Gray ash with a dull inner glow. Black eyes with no catchlight. The youngest steps back, then again. The gap between them vanishes without motion. A crunch. A knife rings against the wet asphalt. Silence flows back into rain. Artyom can't breathe. The thing glides past him as if it doesn't see him, and goes for the sedan. Inside, 2 are scrambling. Where's the kid? Later. Start it. The engine coughs and purrs. Headlights burn through the wet veil. The thing advances unhurried, like a cat that knows the bowl isn't going anywhere. This gray flank shimmers in the beams. The youngest is gone. The big one floors it, shoots for the exit. And at the gate, as if someone took the wheel and turned it. Full speed into a truck side. Metal folds. Headlights keep living. Staring into the rain like 2 empty eyes. Artyom yanks the driver's door. The big man hangs from the belt. Blood. Ragged breathing. You hear me? It's here. Behind. Artyom turns. The thing stands at the passenger door. No sound. No rush. Hands reach inside. Metal parts obediently like wet cardboard. The sounds are brief. Then only rain and headlights. The thing straightens and looks at Artyom. In those black hollows there's no malice, no interest. Just attention. like it's noting an item on a shelf. It turns to the far corner, walks to the black opening between slabs and steps in. The shadow snaps shut. The rain fades by dawn. Artem sits in the booth, fingers trembling around his mug. The tea is cold and smells of iron. He writes in the log, attempted theft, mechanical accident, intruders fled. Paper will hold any lie. Pavel Stepanovich comes earlier than usual. Why are you shaking like a leaf? Hard night. Don't go near the door. They walk to the gate in silence. The bodywork is still warm, steam rolling from under the hood. On the asphalt, puddles and an empty jacket wedged under the bumper. Nothing else. No prints, no people, no scream that still seems to tremble in the ears. Police arrive by 8. 2 in wet coats, a third with a camera. Who called? This morning. Wrecked car, break-in. Where are the thieves? Ran. Dark. Rain, didn't see faces. They nod like those who came for a checkmark. Chain cut. Gate damaged. Footage? Corner camera's been dead a week. Electricians got the ticket. They shoot the lock, the sedan, the booth scuffs by the gate. No one asks why there are no footprints on wet asphalt, only tire smears. No one picks up the empty jacket. The report settles into weekday words. Persons unknown, with intent to steal, left the scene. You can sign? We can. Police leave. The street lamp flickers and dies for a couple seconds. Pavel smokes, staring at the far corner. You saw it? No. Me neither. But from now on the route goes through that junk. Got it? Got it. He nods and goes to sleep. Artem stays by the window. Inside, hollow and cold, and under it, a strange calm. Fear made a circle and suddenly turned into something like a pact. As if the place took him in on shares. He thinks about the monthly loan that crushes him. About his son who needs sneakers and practice fees. About his mother, to whom he promised to hold on as long as they have a roof and light. Leaving would betray all that. Staying means accepting that in that corner there is a black door, and someone steps through it after midnight. All right, we hold, he says to the empty room. He takes a marker and draws a new route on the patrol map. A thick arrow loops through the far corner and back to the booth. Beneath the arrow he writes one word, so he won't forget where you can't blink. Window. For the evening he orders extra locks from a runner. Asks Pavel to bring the old megaphone and a battery siren. Dispatch rasps over the radio that the light tickets escalated. Work starts looking like work again. By night he steps into the rainy yard and stands by the trash heap. Wind rakes the sheets of metal and brings a damp smell of soil from there. He lingers a minute more, as if listening to the black silence, and goes back to the booth. The new night hasn't started, and he's already given it a name, and he likes that name the least. The day stretches like a wet rag. By noon the sun breaks through, pouring lead into the puddles. A tow truck drags off the crumpled sedan. A new shift manager shows up, young, leather jacket, the look of a man who wants to seem important. What happened here at night? Attempted theft, Artem says evenly. 3 broke the gate, 1 crashed. Where are they? Ran. The boss jots something on a tablet without looking. Police will handle it. Make sure the cameras get fixed. The director's mad. Understood. He leaves. Pavel lingers, shuffles, then, listen. That jacket? Where'd it go? Artem shrugs. Maybe they took it. Maybe rain washed it off. Pavel studies him for a long beat, says nothing, then holds out the thermos. Here, drink. Night was rough. The tea smells of linden and something old, like childhood. Warmth spreads across his chest, but his hands still shake. He gets home by evening. The door clicks open the usual way. The cat stretches on the windowsill. The kitchen smells of cooled pasta. He sits, forehead on hands. In his mind again how the gray body dissolves into shadow. Not blood, not screams. Only a sound like distant whispering, words that don't exist. He hardly sleeps for 2 days. Sleep comes in rips, shards of light, wet asphalt, a black hole between slabs. He wakes silence. Only the fridge knocking its motor. On the 3rd day he takes the shift again. Pavel is already leaving, gives a wave. Lights fixed, cameras up. Like a pharmacy now. Aha. You good? Holding. When the gate shuts behind Pavel, Artem is alone. Dusk settles quietly, like someone just dimmed a room. The booth shivers in the wind. The patrol map lies in the corner. He looks at the word window and something inside tightens. By 10:30, the rain returns. That same thin, sticky rain. He goes out. The flashlight skates over hoods. All as usual. Cars, silence. Somewhere a downspout ticks into a drum. At the far corner, the beam flickers and dies. He shakes it, taps, dead. The drip grows louder, as if rain falls only here. And the smell, damp, stale, not from trash, but like soil where something has lain too long. He freezes. The shadow between slabs seems to breathe. Couple of seconds, and quiet again. He heads back to the booth. Phone, no service. Radio, hissing. He switches on the TV, white noise, like the whole ether suddenly died. Off. The night passes with no incident. But at dawn, on the last patrol, a new find lies by the gate. A gray rag, soaked, like cloth from another era. Coarse, dense, a little charred. On it a handprint, long, inhuman. Fingers, too many joints. He lifts it with a stick and drops it in a trash sack. Doesn't think. Doesn't write it down. In the evening his son calls. Dad, you coming this weekend? I'll come. For sure. You sound weird. Like you're... I'm fine, Andre. Just tired. After the call, he sits by the window a long time. Rain comes down in sheets. Lightning flares in the distance, and for a moment the whole yard is lit to the last detail. The trash heap, the fence, the puddles. And a figure. Standing by the gate, back to him. Human height. But when the flash dies, the figure is gone. He flips on the flood, walks to the gate. No one. Only on asphalt. Prints, deep, as if someone stood there a minute ago. 5 marks. And a 6th off to the side. Like someone with 6 fingers. He lights a cigarette. Smoke sticks to the sky and thins away. His fingers tremble. And one thought loops in his head. Came back. But why? On the 4th night, it starts with a bulb. It blinks all evening, then pops with a dry click. Burnt dust smell. He puts in a new one, but the light trembles, as if the current comes in jolts. He calls an electrician. Dispatch on the radio. He'll be there by morning. Old guy. Knows his stuff. Odd bird. By morning he shows. Short, gray quilted jacket. A toolbox. Eyes that look like they've seen too much. Coat off, yeah? Yeah. You on nights? Always on me. He smirks. Bad background here. What? Electricity's like a body. Sometimes it breathes, pulses. Sometimes it radiates. He digs in the panel, hisses at wires like it's something alive. If you see anything strange, don't go close. Wiring's old, it doesn't sizzle for nothing. The current in here isn't always human. Not human? That's right. There's power from the substation, and there's power from the ground. Artem watches him work. There's a steady crackle, but between it, tiny breaths. Not interference, real sounds. Footsteps, then whisper, then silence again. The old man throws the lever. Light blinks, grows stronger. There. Caught the phase, I think. So it's fine now? It won't be fine. Statics mean here. He looks up. You hear it? Hear what? The ground. It hums under the lot. Nights especially. Artem presses his lips. Wants to say the transformer hums. But doesn't. Let it be the ground. You been here long? Long. Back when there were hangars. After the fire they poured the slab, but underneath, a hollow stayed. What hollow? A void. Air under concrete. Where it burned, nothing set. He packs his tools, then adds, don't go there at night. Not to the junk, not to the corner. Light won't reach it, you saw? Saw. Then don't try to understand. You can't. Only accept. He leaves. The smell of ozone and a hum in Artem's head. By evening the flood runs smooth. No flicker. All quiet. Around 11 the TV in the booth starts to drone on its own. The screen bursts into white noise. From the speaker. A steady low tone. like someone singing one note. He switches it off. The tone doesn't stop. It sinks deeper, as if from the ground. He steps outside. The air quivers. Raindrops hang, fall in slow motion. At the far corner a shimmer. Not light, not flame, as if the air melts, and from that ripple a figure steps out. The same. Long arms, thin legs, gray light from within. Standing in profile, motionless. And suddenly Artem understands. Light isn't falling on it. He gives the light. Cold light without shadow. He takes a step. Pulse drumming in his temples. The figure lifts its head. From its chest, where a voice should live, bursts a crackle like a short circuit. Everything flares and goes out. He comes to in the booth. The clock, 4:03. TV off. Flashlight on the floor. On his hand, a fine gray dust like ash. In the air, the smell of metal. He writes in the log. 3:05. Short in the line. Power disturbance. Nothing more. By day Pavel comes. Heard the transformer popped last night. Half the district out. Happens. Only weird part, the meter showed the current went into the ground. Right under our slab. Went where? Like somebody took it. Artem falls quiet. The old man's words float up. The current here isn't always human. That evening, after Pavel leaves, he takes the gray rag from the drawer. Now it smells like after a storm. Fresh air and a hint of copper. He presses it to his ear. The cloth vibrates. Very faintly but steady, as if a weak current beats inside it. He puts it back and sits by the window. Wind stirs the corrugated fence. The rustle turns into a rhythm. And in that rhythm there's intention. Pause, 2 taps, pause. Almost like a signal. Tap, pause, tap. He catches himself listening as if to a call. Pulse and tapping line up. His heart beats the same pattern. He whispers into the emptiness. I hear you. And the shadow outside the window stirs. The next day Artem doesn't go home. He signs off the shift but stays on site. Pavel just shrugs. You want overtime, be my guest. He doesn't want home. The apartment is too quiet, and quiet now scares him more than night. He goes to the city library, where it still smells of dust and card files. At the desk, a woman in her 60s, gray hair, chain on her glasses. I need old industrial plans, the northern hub. Production sites? Yeah, about the 80s. She nods, disappears, brings a stack of yellowed folders. He flips. Shop No. 12. Concrete plant. Chemical production. On one plan he sees a familiar outline, the rectangle of the lot where the parking is now. Next to it a note. Experimental thermoreactor site. Facility mothballed after the 1983 incident. He asks for newspapers from the time. Finds a piece. Fire at experimental shop. 8 dead. Cause coil overheating. Site flooded with concrete. Further use prohibited. Date October. Place the same address. He tears the page with his eyes. On the back, a small column. Fire extinguished thanks to electromechanics. S. Moskvin. Artem freezes. The night electrician gave that name. Sergei Semyonovich. Moskvin. The old man with the not human current. He snaps a photo. On his way out he notices the phone screen faintly flickers. The article seems to crawl. He kills the screen, but the flicker stays, living under his eyelids when he blinks. Evening, back at the lot. Pavel's on duty. Moskvin called again. Asked if the lights are acting up. Called? Aha. Voice like from a pipe. Hissing, humming. Thought his headset was busted. Artem says nothing. He sits in the booth. Finds the number in the log. Electrician Moskvin's S. Calls. They pick up at once. Not with a voice, with static like a radio between stations. He listens until the words thread out thin as wire. Artem, you hear me? Don't switch it on. The night will be long. He drops the phone on the table. The screen goes dark, but from the back, through the plastic, a dull ember seems to glow. At night, the lights begin to jump. First lamps blink at 9, then the whole line at 11. The lot turns dark as a basement. In the dark, a steady low hum, like someone flipped a giant coil underground. Artem grabs the flashlight, heads to the corner. Air vibrates, wet asphalt shivers. On the trash heap the beam catches a rusty metal plate. He bends, wipes it with his finger. Shop no. 12. Power. Responsible S. Moskvin. His heart slams. He lifts his head. In the slit between slabs, the same shadow, only now it breathes. From within, a uniform buzzing, as if 1,000 wires vibrate in unison. He steps back, legs numb. Behind him the booth light flares, then dies. Inside, through the dull glass, a figure stands. Gray, elongated, faceless. Arms at its sides. On its chest, a glint, something metal. He focuses. A badge stamped with a name, Moskvin. The figure turns to the door and vanishes. Artem rushes in, empty. His mug sits on the table. Under it, a charred handprint, like the trace of a discharge. He collapses into a chair. His body aches as if current ran through his muscles. He remembers the old man. Don't try to understand. Only accept. By 4 a.m. everything calms. Light returns by itself. On the monitor, normal image except for a couple seconds. A gray corridor, pipes, sparks. Then the yard again. He rechecks. The clip stamps the exact moment the power died. Date today. Place unknown. In the log he writes, night without incidents. Under the line, in pencil, a word he cannot erase. Basement. The 5th day drags without sun. Gray lid of sky over the city, and wind from the industrial edge carrying the smell of burnt trash. Artem comes by evening. Pavel's heading out. Boss wants alarms, he says, zipping up. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. Too late, Artem answers flatly. Meaning? If something comes here, it's not by wire. Pavel thinks to argue, doesn't. Shrugs and goes. When the gate closes, Artem is alone. The booth greets him with the usual metal and old tea. He flips on the floods, checks the cameras. The picture lags, as if frames get stuck between moments. On the screen the lot looks like a field of mirrors. Everything wet, reflective, unreal. He sits, hits the recorder. His voice sounds tired but calm. 5th night. After the Moscow 24 line cut, the sector holds steady current. Strange background like a low vibration. Source unknown. Check at 200. He clicks it off and smirks. Talking to emptiness has become a habit. Like someone needs to hear, even if no one does. By 2 the rain stops. Silence stands thick as glass. Then the east corner camera chirps, a short beep. On the screen 3. Young, black hoods. One smokes, one fumbles at the gate, the third slips the chain. Exactly like that first night. Artem stills. He doesn't call the police. Doesn't hit the siren. Takes the flashlight and goes. He walks slow, unrushed, like he knows the finale has begun. Wet asphalt glows in the beam. The air smells of ozone. Halfway he stops. A hum. The same one from underground. Low, pulsing, like a sleeping animal breathing. Comes from the window. A thin steam rises from the junk, lit from within. The thieves freeze. One turns. Hey, you hear that? Hear what? Somebody's. And in that moment Artem's flashlight flares and dies. Darkness drops like a sheet. Out of it light. Gray, even moon-cold. The thing. The same outline. But closer than ever. 3 steps away. No shadow, no glint. But everything around seems to dim beside it. Artem lifts his hand, not to defend. To show he isn't an enemy. The thing mirrors him. Slowly, like a reflection. He steps forward 1 instant and the world goes soundless. Even the rain is gone. Everything stops. Only the air trembles like clear film. He sees details. Ash-like skin, smooth, woven from microscopic cracks. And deep inside light, warm, alive. You're a watcher, right? He whispers. Like me. The head tilts. In its eyes a dull ember flickers, like reflected flame. Behind them screams. The thieves bolt for the fence, but don't make it. The thing doesn't move, but the space between them tears with light. Air flashes like a welder's arc. For a split second, 3 human silhouettes, then dark. When his eyes adjust, the asphalt is empty. Only smoke, smelling of burnt metal. The thing turns back to Artem. The hairs on his arms rise, not with fear, with static. He stretches out a hand. Fingers long, thin, each phalanx lit from within. He doesn't step back. When their palms almost touch, a jolt rolls up from the ground. The booth blinks with all lamps at once. For half a second everything goes white. Then silence. The thing is gone. He stands alone in the middle of the wet lot, at the center of a perfectly dry circle. On his hand, a fine mark, like a lightning-shaped burn. The gate is shut. Camera's dead. The recorder still runs. He picks it up, hits stop, looks at the screen. The last seconds are a strange noise. Not wind, not current. A pulse. 2 beats, pause. 2 beats, pause. The same rhythm knocking in his chest. He sits on a concrete block and stares at the gray sky as it lightens. He understands. The thing didn't come for him. Came with him. Every night he stayed, it stepped from the shadow, not to kill but to stand watch. As if they were on duty together. He rises, looks at the trash heap. Steam wisps from under the slabs. It smells like a storm. I'm staying, he says softly, until the light goes out, and the shadow in the corner seems to shiver in reply. The light goes out suddenly. No pop, no crackle, it just disappears, as if someone snapped their fingers and took the electricity out of the air. Artem looks up. The booth sinks into a thick, viscous dark where even his own hands are only shadow. The radio is mute. The phone has no signal. Even the watch on his wrist has stopped. He steps outside. The air is dense, almost touchable. The city beyond the fence is gone, no lights, no sounds. Only a steady low humming from below, from the ground. He walks the rows. Cars stand like monuments, skinned with a fine film of moisture. Mirrors reflect a sky with no stars, no moon. In the far corner something glows. The window, that spot where the earth is always darker. Now it shimmers like metal melting under the surface. He stops. The hum swells. A tremor lifts from under the slabs. Ozone fills the air. The first steps come from there, heavy, hollow. Out of the window a thing emerges. The same one, but not alone. Behind it, a second, then a third, then more. The inner light brightens. They move slowly, not threatening, as if they're simply coming home. Bodies glimmer with gray radiance, like old lamps full of current. Each wears a metal tag on its chest, some with names. On one Artem manages to read, Pavel S. He freezes. The shadow of his feet stretches toward them, like it wants to join. And the moment he understands they're not enemies, the light inside them flares. The hum turns into a melody. Not music, not words. A pure tone, like someone singing with electricity. The world becomes transparent. Asphalt dissolves, cars turn to smoke. Everything drains downward, becoming liquid light. He steps forward. The first one, the one with Moskvin, raises a hand. They touch palms. And Artem feels there's nothing inside but a pulse, the same one from the recording. 2 beats, pause. 2 beats, pause. Light passes through him. No pain. Warmth. As if something long frozen finally came alive. Everything holds still. And in the total silence he hears his own voice, from far away, like from the other side of glass. North Post. Object in place. No violations. Then the light goes out. Morning. The industrial zone wakes. Sun presses through the haze. Workers pull cable to the new floodlights. Pavel doesn't show for his shift. They say he quit. New guards open the booth. Business as usual, logs, kettle, camera. On the table they find an old notebook. Edges scorched. Last entry. Object secured. Light within stable. Under it, in pencil, the Watchers. A worker means to tear the page, but the paper snaps under his fingers, as if a current passed through it. Outside, in the far corner, wind lifts a sheet of tin. Beneath it, a dry patch of asphalt in the shape of human steps. And nearby, in the shadow, A faint gray light flickers for a heartbeat, like the breath of someone simply standing post. And in that instant, for a moment all the floods blink. Simultaneously, Artem stayed where he belongs. Not living, not dead. Just another watcher in the endless night. If the story touched you, stay close. Hit like, subscribe, so you don't miss the moment a new plot taps at your window. And in the comments, leave one word that got stuck in your head. Maybe that word will start our next story.